Luffy is not political. As a matter of fact, he's not a hero. He's not anything of that variety. People are putting their own complicated, boring morality onto a force of nature. Luffy is a force of nature. He's not a political revolutionary. That's his daddy dragon, who's doing basically nothing. He is not a social justice warrior. He's not even a hero in the classical self-sacrificing sense. He is a hurricane with a straw hat. That man is a psychopath. And the fact that he leaves liberated nations and toppled dictators in his wake is a side effect, a literal byproduct. The geological scarring left after a tectonic plate of pure unadulterated id crashes into the fragile ornate structures of power. He doesn't fight for justice. He fights for meat, adventure, and most of all, for the simple absolute freedom of himself and the people he has arbitrarily decided belong with him and to him. His moral compass has exactly 2 points. My friends and not my friends. That's it. That's everything else is scenery. And if the scenery gets in the way, he will punch a hole through it without a second thought. I want to look at his actions, right? He didn't storm Inez lobby to take down a corrupt wing of the world government. He stormed it because a man in a silly mask told him he couldn't have his girl back. He couldn't have Robin back. That's it. The fact that he declared war on the entire world, burned their flag, and shattered their invincible reputation, that was not a political statement. It was a temper tantrum. It had political ramifications, for sure. But to Luffy, he was just getting Robin back. That was it. Nothing else. A glorious, world-shaking, historically significant temper tantrum, but a tantrum nonetheless. The political ramifications, inspiring revolutionaries, exposing government weakness, those were wholly irrelevant to him. They just didn't matter. The only thing that mattered was that Usopp was crying and Robin said she wanted to live. That's it. His motivation was so profoundly, beautifully selfish that it looped back into being the most powerful act of liberation imaginable. Because this is the beautiful thing about Luffy. While the world's happening around him, Luffy is happening to the world. The world has to adjust for what Luffy does. Let's take this for example, right? Blackbeard. Boom, Blackbeard. He wouldn't have been able to fully escape Impel Down if it weren't for Luffy accidentally doing something to save his brother Ace. And by doing so, he put Buggy to godhood and everybody had to react around him. Ace got so far and the war went the way it did and all the ramifications happened because Luffy was there. That man is the Dawn. He is a force of the sun. He is a god in human skin, and that is what the story has been trying to tell us. This is the core of this character. A rejection of all systems. He doesn't want to reform the world government. He doesn't want to install a new, better king in Alabasta. He actively despises kings and rulers on principle. He helped Vivi because she was his friend, and Crocodile was in his way. The moment the fight was over, you know what he did? He's ready to leave. He has zero interest in governance and policy and the tedious work of building a better society. He embodies a kind of archaic individualism that is terrifying to any structured power. That is why they say Nika, Nika, they say he is the destroyer, because Luffy is liberating because he's himself. He cannot be bargained with, bought, or reasoned with. You can't offer a hurricane a treaty. You can only hope it passes over by you. That is how he operates. His allies are the most crucial evidence of his apolitical nature. He will happily work with a sworn marine like Kobe, a tyrannical warlord like Crocodile. He may even work with a revolutionary army commander like his father. Their affiliation's ideology mean nothing to him. Law was exploiting him the entire way through. The only thing that matters is whether their current goal aligns with his immediate simple desire. Get to the One Piece, protect his crew. That's pretty much it. He is the ultimate single issue voter. And the single issue is Luffy's whims. It's not political pragmatism. It's a childlike focus so pure it transcends the very concept of sides. If you were to put Luffy on a political spectrum, he would eat the compass. That's what he would do. He said, "It's made of me. He eat the compass." Even his greatest triumphs or accidental acts of political arson. In Dressrosa, he had no grand plan to liberate a country from a manipulative warlord. He was there to beat up a guy who made his friend cry and stole his meat. That's pretty much it. The fact that he toppled a decade-long regime, inspired a grand fleet, and shattered the delicate balance of the three great powers, that was just collateral damage of his main objective. Making Doflamingo eat dirt? That was just, he didn't free the Sontara tribe out of a sense of racial justice. This racism is horrible. I hate this. Luffy didn't care. He did it because they were Rebecca's friends. And Rebecca was his friends. Well, it was complicated, but the point is, they were under his protection by association. That's what happened. This is why the world government rightly sees him as the ultimate enemy. Not because of his ideology. He doesn't have one. That's why he's the perfect person to have the sun god fruit, the most freedom, because he's not tied to liberation or anything. He's not tied to anything. He's just doing things. A revolutionary like Dragon, he can be understood. His goals can be analyzed. His movement infiltrate. He can figure it out. But what do you do with the man whose entire philosophy can be summed up as, I do what I want, period. Whatever I enjoy is what's happening. He's a walking, talking glitch in the matrix of control. He doesn't challenge your authority. He simply ignores its very existence. Bro didn't even know about the Gorosei. He just said, oh, these old guys are crazy. Anyways, he doesn't read the paper. He barely reads. He just sees his bounty goes up and says, I'm doing great. Yahoo, I'm doing amazing. He didn't even know he had a crazier bounty because he didn't know how to read numbers. He's the living embodiment of the question, what if someone simply refused to play the game? He is not a hero. He stated all the time, I'm not a hero. A hero shares meat. I don't. Heroes make choices. Heroes weigh consequences. Luffy follows his gut. A hero would have stayed in Alabasta to help rebuild. Luffy fell asleep and sailed away. A hero would feel the weight of the lives lost in the war he started. Luffy throws a banquet for the survivors. His freedom is so absolute, it is sociopathic by our standards. He is not burdened by the guilt or the responsibility that defines a traditional hero. He acts, and the world is forced to react. I think Luffy is disgustingly selfish because his selfishness is his greatest strength, because his desires are so primal and direct. They cut through the layers of corruption, tradition, and political maneuvering that paralyze everyone else. While politicians and kings are scheming, he's punching the problem in the face. His goal has never been to make the world a better place. It's been to make the world a more interesting place for him and his friends to sail through. It just so happens that the biggest obstacles to his fun are the biggest oppressors in the world. That's it. So when you see Luffy, when you see Monkey D. Luffy standing atop the rubble of a toppled tyranny, don't mistake him for a freedom fighter. Don't put a protest sign in his hand. He doesn't want your gratitude or your political allegiance. He is not a symbol for your movement. He is a force of chaos with a heart of gold. A selfish, simple-minded boy who, by the sheer unstoppable force of his will and his love for his crew, accidentally becomes the catalyst for political upheaval on a global scale. He is the storm that clears the air. He's a storm that is approaching. Not the gardener who plants new seeds. And the most terrifying, beautiful part is that he doesn't even know what he's doing. He's just having fun. The journey is what matters the most. That's it. He probably doesn't even know the significance of the One Piece realistically. He probably doesn't even care. If he saw that big mural that they discovered recently in chapters, he would say, that's kind of cool, and walk away. He doesn't care. That is Luffy. That is him.
I'm your Nick and Night, be my loyal, happy to try what you need. Your world, I love to live in it. I love the ride.